Hello everyone, this is Greyshot17, and I want to celebrate Valentine's Day weekend with everyone's favorite crush, spiders. No, not those types of spiders, MCU spiders. But hypothetically speaking, what if we combined both into a 2000s comedy? Confused? So is the movie. Eight-Legged Freaks, or Rack Attack, we'll get to that later, is a monster movie brought to you by the producer of Godzilla and Independence Day, aka Dean Devlin. The guy who usually works with Roland Emmerich behind two good movies before making years of to what the fuck? It also means these guys are more remembered than the actual director of the movie, Ellery Elkem. Elkem is known for a short spider film, a movie about insects breeding with humans. You know what, let's just move on from the director, with the intention of being a throwback to the 1950s, but with a, at the time, current 2000s comedic twist. The movie ended up being more of a mixed result. The poster doesn't help. You'd think they would do more of a classic monster movies poster from the 50s, but no, they actually took inspiration from Tremors 3 of all things. So is there a hidden gem in this flick, or is this a spider invasion to forget? Let's find out. This is my review of Eight-Legged Freaks. The movie starts with Harlan, a crazy local radio host, played by Dougie Doug, still hiding out after being in That Darn Cat. Meanwhile, a truck driver saves one bunny's life to doom an entire town. Well, nature's destruction is another man's profit, and that man today is Joshua, a local spider farmer gathering food as business seems to be slow, with his only customer being Mike, played by Scott Terra.
Are you trying to scare me to death?
No, he's just naturally terrifying, but always a friend to children.
I see dead people.
No, you see the future. Joshua shows Mike his new spiders, and it's a nice little sequence showing what will be the antagonist of the movie and all the different things they can do. An exposition dump for sure, but one that serves the character's interest, which is why I'm okay with this.
Look how they kill. I call this an Iraq attack.
Former title drop. Former because of rising tensions between the United States and Iraq at the time. But don't worry, they only got larger, just like the spiders in this movie. And they're doing so from eating mutated grasshoppers. Doesn't explain why other creatures aren't getting larger, such as possibly seeing the end of the beginning or the black scorpion in this movie. My guess, Joshua's adding a little bit of grass to those hoppers.
Oh man, am I in trouble?
So let's go over everything wrong with this scene, shall we? Mike is only there for a few minutes and is late. That alarm is set for him being late, not for him to leave on time so he isn't late. Mike leaves immediately and then Joshua dies horrifically. Two spiders already outside of their cage. If you're looking for a food equivalent to this movie, it's Swiss cheese, because again, plot is just thrown out the window for convenience sake. David Arquette enters the film a week later as the main lead Chris McCormick, returning to town after years to reunite with his aunt and take over his family business of excavating the local mines. Meanwhile, Mike goes to check out local police activity, bumping into his mom, Sheriff Parker, played by Carrie Wooher, and Deputy Phil, who found the toxic waste container in the pond.
What are you doing out here? You were supposed to stay in the house.
All right, you're grounded, mister.
Okay, kid, there are only 2 cops in this town. If you see police tape, that should be Chernobyl in your eyes. Well, Mike, look at the positives. Your sister is played by Scarlett Johansson, and she's in trouble too for hanging out with her boyfriend, Brett. Sorry, Mike, you're gonna have to leave a message. Joshua is currently trying the spiderweb temperature challenge. Meanwhile, at the local mall, Mayor Wade is trying to get people to sell their property to relocate the town since the mines have dried up. Again, a nice little sequence because you have multiple characters giving quick swipes at the mayor, allowing them to build their own little characters, as well as setting up future payoffs.
You know those mines are filled with methane gas. You're gonna load that gun with toxic waste?
That's a fair point. I think we should all store the toxic waste in our homes. Who's with me?
This is for landowners only.
Well, I am a landowner, Wade.
Hey, Chris McCormick, I didn't know you were back.
I feel like the lighting department may have given up because there's barely any difference in lighting as he moves up a step. How could you not see him? Wade tries to convince Chris to sell since he needs everyone together on this, but Chris responds with a strong counteroffer.
Welcome, punch!
Now you would think that would get him in trouble, but all it does is get him closer to his former flame. Now, you may think this movie's been pretty standard in the B-movie affair, but let's break that mindset with the next sentence, shall we? Deputy Phil's cat fights a giant spider with kung fu in drywall. They set the scene up as a jump scare, only to flip it on its head and shove it through the drywall. Now, you may be asking why I said kung fu. Just listen to some of these voices. Deputy Phil reports what happened to the sheriff, including his wife leaving him, but can't figure out what killed his cat. However, Mike puts 2 and 2 together to come up with spider. Now, after that darkly comedic scene, let's jump right into more serious subject matter, dealing with sexual abuse and consent. No, I'm not joking. The sheriff gives Ashley a taser for personal protection, just in case one of the boys in this movie don't know what the word no means. And to be fair, it's a B movie, so those chances actually are a little bit higher than other movies. But that said, this movie does also talk about teenage pregnancy, the impacts it has on people. Again, very serious subject matter that if you go into, fantastic. But just like the sheriff's husband, this movie just doesn't commit. Mike discovers the spider farm has become a bit too wild, finding massive spider webs, the giant footprints, and, well, large spiders in the cave. Alright, so let's get into this trope. The next few scenes involve Mike trying to tell people about the giant spiders, but they always blame it on something else. And again, he does have some evidence, but upon editing this review, it turns out that he has video evidence of the spider webs, the footprints, and the giant spiders in the caves, with himself in the footage. So you can't exactly just so happen to explain that away when he's in the same shot of a giant spider. And again, this is something he doesn't show to anybody.
But you're not gonna believe me because I'm the kid and they never believe the kid.
Because you won't show the video evidence, Mike. And because of that, the sexiest voice in this movie just got curtain called.
Hey, Gladys. How can you listen to this wacko?
What do you want from me? I had to include it. Speaking of terrible people, the mayor's storing toxic waste underneath the town. Who needs people's consent anyway? Oh God, you're Brett's father. This is not gonna go well, is it?
Well, I can't help it. You just bring out the beast in me.
Brett, back off!
If Daddy won't teach him what no means, the maid-eating spiders will. Hey, wait, didn't you two catcall the sheriff earlier? Alright, time to get to the best part of the movie, the dirt bike spider chase sequence. This sequence is done so well just because the music being timed perfectly with the spiders' hits on the ground as they get closer and closer, adding tension to the bikers as they try to escape down this hill. The fact the choreography and the shots are really well done. The fact that the stunt work with the CGI spiders is also excellent. And finally ending with a large explosion that actually ties to the plot by cutting off the town with the rest of the world. Again, really well done. I cannot stress enough, this is the best part of the movie just because it adds so much. But I will say this, it ends with a change, because usually a character like this would be killed off, but no, the movie decides he escapes into the mines. Still chased by spiders, but he does escape. Now, if you think that the spiders are only going after dirtbags, I'm sorry to say, but that's simply not the case. They're going to continue to kill every single animal in this poor movie. No joke. They kill ostriches, cats, dogs. Pretty much anything in this movie is up and fair game, including Gladys. Chris eventually discovers the hole and runs to Mike, now believing in his giant spider theory. Also, Mike has a new program to show the spider's size in order to convince his mom of his
Induced paranoid delusional nightmare.
Nice comeback, but you could have just showed her the video off that device, you know. Also, you know, you could always just have lied and said Joshua tried to give you drugs, which I don't think would have been that much of a stretch. He did something to those grasshoppers. I'm not dropping that. Well, we're halfway through this movie, and it's time for the mandatory fan service. But don't get your hopes up. This movie's PG-13, and Scarlett Johansson's still a teenager after all. But I don't think Weinstein here cares that much. Chris fights the Orb Weaver with a chair and goes as well as you expect. Meanwhile, Mama Bear...
Hey, Spidey!
Wait a second, it understands English? So apparently Dean Devlin accidentally left Scarlett Johansson up on the wall for hours after reassuring her it will be fine, and then everyone just forgot. So just really showing Dean Devlin's attention to detail that he puts in all of his movies. While the spiders begin their assault in the town, I think it's a good idea to go over their design and implementation in the movie to show if it was a positive or negative, kind of like what I did with Abominable. As I mentioned, that design and how they brought that monster to life was a positive for that movie. And I think the same can be said for these creatures. The spiders are mostly CGI, some practical, but overall I think it's well done, especially for the budget. There are bigger budget spider movies that came out when this was released. Easy one is Harry Potter, but a lot of those spiders look exactly the same, and it's dark and they're black. These ones have different designs, different colors, and again, implemented in different fashions depending on the spider at large. So you're going to have the jumpers, you're going to have the surprise ambushers, you're going to have the orb weavers, the tarantula, the different types of between male and female and their sizes. I think in that aspect, the film did a really good job of differentiating every single one and making these spiders more unique than other giant spider movies that may just use a tarantula, for instance. That said, the PG-13 rating does hinder this movie a little bit. Sure, they get away with spider blood, but compared to the deaths of the humans, sure, they can be a little more creative with the spiders, but the humans can't be torn apart. They're usually just jumped on and just cut away from, which does sort of hinder the sort of rampage you can do. For what it is, I'll take it. It's fine. It's nothing great, but at least we do get a lot of spider carnage all over the place. The weirdest thing, though, is what the spiders produce vocally, as not only do they produce noises such as horse noises or lion roars or other voices, but they also can talk. No one ever brings this up during the course of the film, which makes me think this was more of a decision in post to make the spiders funnier or more gremlin-like, but they also mess with certain items and can even lay traps, like knowing when people are going specifically to their cars. So yeah, it's weird. Sometimes these spiders are incredibly smart, other times they're dumb as rocks. The voices were done by Rob Paulsen, Kevin Michael Richardson, and Frank Welker, aka Pinky, Tamongo, and Megatron's voice actors respectively. Now, with all that said, where was I again?
Look out, Seth!
Right. Wait, Chris is a sharpshooter? Okay, thanks for the lack of build-up on that trait. Anyway, they head over to Harlan's to send a broadcast to get help and for people to head to the local mall for protection, but people think that's way too crazy. Actually, really quick, before the next scene, John Ottoman is the one who created the score on this. It's a riff on Itsy Bitsy Spider, and I think overall it's fine. It's memorable to the movie, but I think the implementation and scenes can be, again, really weird in tone, as some scenes are way too upbeat for the murder that's going on screen, and some other sequences are a little bit too dour. But overall, there are sequences where it works flawlessly, and this is one of them. What a great intro to probably the worst spider in this movie. No joke, this thing can't kill anything. The only thing it does is fall on its back and eventually team kill one of its own spiders later on. Otherwise, don't expect much from this thing. It looks cool, but that's about it. But hey, if that spider's so incompetent, maybe the other spiders are just as bad.
Yes, everyone go to the town mall. We have a car full of weapons and we'll meet you there with them. We could help you right now, but that seems like a lot of extra work. We're just gonna keep driving to the mall. You guys have fun.
Well, eventually the heroes make it to the mall, save a couple people, and lock the spiders out.
What exactly is it?
Spider-Man.
And you thought my Marvel references were not gonna have a payoff. Alright, it's about as good as this movie in payoffs, but still, it's a payoff. After some bad ADR,
How's luck on holding over there? This one's holding pretty good. They're holding, but we don't have much time.
the town gets antsy about the whole spider invasion going on. Chris manages to calm them down, and Mike fills them in on everything he knows about the spiders. We also get to see the barber, the bar patron, the mall maintenance guy, and a few other people, but I don't know their names or really care about them. They impact the story so little, and literally you could cut them out of this movie because they're so paper thin that I've done so. And again, this is one of the problems. They put a lot of time in people that really don't matter in the end. Game plan. Chris and Harlan try to head to the roof in order to contact the outside world with Wade's cell phone. Meanwhile, the citizens of the town will gear up to hold back the spiders as they try to enter the mall. One would expect a bunch of cool weapons in the mall, but except for Mike giving Chris a perfume product to hold off the spiders, everyone else is so disappointing with their weapons that we get a person with a white plastic chair to hold back the spiders. Frank West would be so disappointed in all of you. Chris and Harlan make it to the top of the mall and try to call for help, but at that time, the spiders also begin their assault on the mall. The tarantula comes on over, team kills one of its allies, opens up a hole, and then decides to leave the movie. I guess he just was scared after the little trailer incident and decides, you know what, I better not take part in this movie. I've already embarrassed myself enough. I'm good. The rest of you guys all go in and deal with the humans. Also, the spiders go up onto the roof as well. I don't know why they weren't there before, but I guess now that there's a giant hole in the mall, they're deciding to scout the rest of the mall out. So unfortunately, the call doesn't work. They don't believe the giant spider invasion's happening. Again, maybe my cynical brain at work, but you could always blame it on something else. Sure, you might be in trouble for saying it's a terrorist attack, but I feel like they'll be fine once they realize that there are giant spiders roaming around this town that need to be dealt with. But hey, how are the townsfolk dealing with the spiders in the mall?
Get to the basement now! Hurry!
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually want Bigfoot to show up to slap some sense into people, because then at least maybe they could come up with a better idea than let's stand in a group by the door while the spiders all come around us because they can climb on the ceiling. The sheriff does try to get the survivors back into the basement, but now the spiders know about the basement, so they're just gonna follow suit. Again, I don't know who came up with this plan, but it's a really bad plan. Deputy Phil does provide a little bit of support by trying to draw away some of the spiders in the meantime, and also throw a shotgun to a spider, which then the spider tries to use said shotgun. Again, in my mind, that spider's there until the end of the movie trying to figure out how to use that shotgun. And once it does, better watch out. Now, eventually, Deputy Phil is surrounded in a scene reminiscent of another Dean Devlin film. Can you guess which one? I'll give you a hint. It's terrible. Actually, that's not much of a hint. But he does manage to escape with the help of a chainsaw. So, Deputy Phil, thank you for your service. Also, Harlan sacrifices himself so Chris can escape, but don't worry, he lives. I don't know how he didn't break his legs even with that bush, but he does live. And with that, the two best characters in this movie make their exit. Speaking of side characters, what happened to Brett? Oh my god, he's alive. With Wade? Who's now less alive. And to be fair, also trapped a bunch of people inside the mall that's now filling up with spiders, so kinda deserved it, honestly. That said, what you probably didn't expect was Brett saving everyone by busting through that gate. Even if he was just trying to run from the spiders and get out of the mines, but hey, it's something. He's at least having some redemptive qualities. Chris now leads the townsfolk into the mines, which probably Brett's not happy about, and the sheriff is trying to hold back the spiders through any means possible. There's also some other side characters dying, but we're just moving on. The deaths aren't interesting, and unfortunately they don't impact the story, so let's just go. Now the group unfortunately does go into a part of the mine with methane gas, so all their guns are essentially useless because they don't want to set it off. They do have some other weapons in the meantime, but it's basically just use the crossbow. They also stumble upon a spider nest that looks suspiciously like an orb weaver nest. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. And find Wade? Alive? Really? I get not killing Brett because at least it came back to having a positive impact on the story, and hopefully they can kind of reunite. Are they at least going to address the fact he tried to murder the townsfolk? Thanks, movie. With the chance that Gladys is also alive, Chris stays behind and sets a trap so when the townsfolk get out of the mine and to a generator, they activate it and set the entire mine ablaze. Before the sheriff joins the group, she does talk with Chris and explains the whole situation of knowing how much Chris cares for her and how his dad sort of spilt the beans before dying. Again, they also just run through this, so they're like, oh, love story, right. There's the ending, let's move on. No one cares. What people do care about is the fact that Gladys is alive. Just kidding. Gold. That's what people care about. The fact is gold vein's right there, and the fact that the spiders are not digging as Chris's dad saw the gold vein. So that means this gold vein, this highly sought after gold vein, was dug out totally fine and just probably a few meters away from lights in the nest, meaning some people are installing lights and seeing a gold vein to their side. Again, that's just how the movie's shot, but I'm just pointing out it's a little weird how nobody saw that. Now, going to the Queen Orb Weaver, I think she looks fine. It looks more like a giant black widow, which I think is what they're trying to get at. It's okay. It's fine. And unfortunately, she doesn't really get any cool moments. She just chases them through the tunnels and then just screams at the camera. So, unfortunately, Not the greatest of climaxes. Back outside, Ashley eventually gets the generator working with her taser, sending every single spider in that cave into a burning inferno and straight into hell. Along with capitalism, help finally does arrive, but under the assumption that there's an alien invasion, not a spider invasion.
Cocoons! Hey guys, we got cocoons!
Guys, I hate to break it to you, the people in those cocoons are not getting younger. Now dealing with the main cast, Chris and the sheriff get together, as well as Ashley and Brett. I'm not going to open up that can of spiders. Now Harlan gives our closing remarks to this movie, saying the townspeople covered up the incident and said the explosion was the thing that caused all the damage and all the deaths in town. Meanwhile, they found the Aquamesa load and put everyone back to work. Now, once again, I have no idea how the townspeople covered this whole event up, but hey, if Independence Day can be covered up in this film's universe, why not a giant spider invasion? So overall, would I recommend? Well, just like critics, I think this is a mixed bag, and it really depends on what you're looking for. There are so many things brought up that are not paid off in an interesting or satisfying manner. A lot of the characters would benefit by some of the deleted scenes, but in other cases it just adds more issues. And I feel like the main general problem is just lack of depth in the writing for each of these characters. I just feel like maybe removing some of the secondary characters would have really helped flesh out the main characters, or at the very least, better writing could have really helped make them more memorable. As well, the alternate ending has like 2 or 3 dozen people alive in town, so the fact that town is back up on its feet after possibly losing hundreds of its folks and down to a minuscule bunch is laughable at best. But I feel like that's where this movie excels at. It's a laughable B-movie, and that's its sense of charm. And that's really brought up by the spiders. Now, where the human characters sort of fall flat, the spiders excel, and there's enough creativity in the visuals, the spider designs themselves, and the soundtrack to keep people's attention throughout the entire movie. So I can't say it fails in that regard, and that's probably, if you're going to watch this film, where you're going to be most interested in. If you like Iraq attacks in film, maybe give it a shot. But if you're looking for story, characters, or more interesting plot, there are definitely better films I would recommend first before you check out this somewhat entertaining monstrosity. Sorry for the wait, everybody, that this took so long. Unfortunately, due to some issues in January, which originally was supposed to release, I just couldn't get this done. That said, I hope you enjoyed. If you have a movie review, please put it down below and I'll maybe check it out and do a review on it. Make sure it's creature feature related. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see all of you next time.
Nothing to see here, folks. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Okay.